Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Rome Business Radio. This is the Rome Floyd Chamber Small Business Spotlight. We are broadcasting from the Hardy Realty Studios, and we work in cooperation with the Rome News Tribune. I am Roger Manus with Rome Business Radio.
And I'm Thomas Kissett with the Rome Floyd Chamber. Good morning, Roger.
Good morning, Thomas. We are in our Zoom room. Hope to get back in studio very, very soon here post-pandemic. But you're looking very spiffy. I know most people are listening to this on a podcast, but we've got the pocket square going. You had a lot of ribbon cuttings going on.
Yeah, that shows, people are feeling more confident to be around other people. The economy, for a lot of people is doing great. So we just had our annual meeting last week as well. Well attended, over 300 people at the Rome Brave Stadium. So things are looking good.
That's fantastic. That is great news. If you don't mind, could you please take us around our Zoom room here and introduce us to our guests, please?
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and get started with Heather Shores. We're pleased to have Heather here from the Chieftains Museum. Then we have a team from Keller Williams here, and that is Simone Adams and Beau Brown. Welcome to the show. And then last but not least, Chad Smith from Trinity Motorcar. Welcome, everybody.
Hello, everybody. How are we?
Morning.
Good morning.
I guess I'll go in the same order that Thomas did there. Heather Shores with the Chieftains Museum. If you could just give us, 30 seconds to a minute, just kind of a general overview of the Chieftains Museum.
Certainly. So a lot of people may have lived here for a long time and never been in to see us because we look like just a big white house that's on Riverside Parkway, but we have a lot of history here. So we're a National Historic Landmark, and we are the only standing site that is known where Major Ridge, a Cherokee leader, lived. So Major Ridge was Cherokee. He lived here as a very prosperous farmer and had a farm of over 200 acres of land that sat right here. He also operated a trading post and a ferry boat that went across the Oostenaula River, which is why our park is named Ridge Ferry Park. So he was a very wealthy Cherokee man. He was also a representative for the Cherokee to go to Washington, D.C. and negotiate on behalf of their people. And as the United States government and the Georgia government started putting a lot of pressure on the Cherokee to move, he became leader of the Treaty Party that ultimately signed the Treaty of New Echota that led to the removal of the Cherokee to go west. So we have a lot of history here. In addition to just the story of Major Ridge, we have a lot of architectural history as well. So the original cabin that he came to in 1819 is still in our walls and ceilings, and you see it as you go through the house, and it turned at least 200 years old in 2019. So we hope that people can come and visit us and experience the history here in their own backyard.
Fantastic. It's an amazing, complicated story, and I look forward to delving into it a little bit more with you here. Let's stop by Simone and Beau. Simone Adams, Beau Brown with Keller Williams. Hi, how are y'all?
Doing well. How about you?
We are hunky-dory, as we say down south. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do, and I imagine you've been very busy because your industry seems to be very busy.
Goodness gracious, yes. It's definitely a seller's market, but we are, trying to find buyers' homes as long as sellers are willing to sell.
Yeah. So are you both real estate agents?
We are.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So like, is this 24/7 right now for y'all?
24/7, 365. I don't get it. Mother's Day, I went binding on a contract. If that.
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, we're always working around the clock.
The clock.
I try to keep open communication with all the clients that I work with, just to give them the best customer service I can provide. So yeah, it gets to a point, it's kind of hectic at times, but we do our best to manage it.
Well, and I want to touch base with you guys a little bit more just about the cycle we're in with that industry. But let's say hello to Chad here real quick as well. Chad with Trinity Motorcar. You've actually been on the podcast before a long time ago when we were first getting started. So good to see you again. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Roger.
Well, I understand you had some good news recently, a ribbon cutting for a new location at Trinity. Tell me about it.
Yes, sir. So we've been working on a land deal on Dean Avenue with the Coosa Valley Credit Union, and they decided to close their branch that was across the street from us and gave us the opportunity to purchase that facility. And so we did at 1306 Dean Avenue. So now we're on both sides of the road on Dean. So we're very thankful for that.
So you didn't just move, you expanded.
Yes, sir. We're expanded, doubled our capacity for inventory. So that'll be coming directly.
So whether you're going towards Saddle Mountain or Piccadilly, you're only
got you either way.
Well, that's great news. And one of the things I remember about you is, Chad, and I certainly want to delve into this a little bit more, is that you guys are a faith-based business, and you put that on your website. And I'm curious if that helps or hurts because you guys are so open about it.
Both. It absolutely helps in some cases. And then, if there's ever any kind of conflict that's going to arise in any business that you have, people always seem to want to throw that right back up in your face and say, well, you're not doing what I want you to do, so you must not be what you say you are. So you run into some of that, sure.
Did the name Trinity come from the faith-based?
It did, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's go back around here. So Heather, Chieftains Museum, what are some of the basics of like the hours and the cost, and what else is in the house from a memorabilia standpoint or museum type stuff?
Certainly. So we're located at 501 Riverside Parkway, for those who don't know. So we are across the street, basically from the Social Security office, down the street from the new Piccadilly and the Braves Stadium. Yeah. So we are open from Wednesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's $5 for adults to visit, $3 for seniors age 62 and above. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. And $2 for students kindergarten through college. So when you come to the museum, you can learn all about the history of Major Ridge and his family, Cherokee history, but you can also learn the history of the families who lived here afterward. So once Major Ridge and his family left in 1837, this became regular real estate like any other home, like Keller Williams would know about. So it changed hands over time. And it became a museum in 1971. It was a private home all the way till 1968. And for the last few decades of its existence, it was actually owned by the textile mill across the street, which started out as American Chatillon, and by that time was Celanese. And the plant supervisor and his family lived in the home. So once it became a museum, it was open for everybody, but we try to interpret all those family stories to truly show the history of the house, particularly architecturally, because owners over time made changes. The amazing thing is that they kept the cabin. They just kept building around it like a Russian nesting doll, which was very fortunate for us. So it was either brilliant foresight on their part or great economy on their part that they didn't want to start from scratch. So they actually preserved this home so that we could still have it and see it today. So in addition to seeing the architecture, you will see information about those families that were closely tied in with Rome history as well. You will see different types of artifacts. We have a very large archaeology collection here because this area was a farm for 150 years. So we have a lot of things that are devoted to that. We also have gardens on our property. So we have a demonstration garden out front that has plants in it that were used by Native Americans or were planted by Major Ridge on his farm, or things that were important for Southern agriculture. So we actually do plant a little bit of cotton every year in one of our raised beds so people can actually see what a cotton plant looks like in all of its forms. Major Ridge did have a little cotton here that he used, not for commercial use. Commercially, he sold corn and wheat here. But we try to demonstrate these different plants, especially for school children that come, when they can come, so that they can learn a little bit more about how history has been formed over time. And different plants give us different opportunities to also talk about the Southern labor process. Major Ridge was also a slaveholder. So he had between 15 and 20 slaves on this property at any one time that were both Choctaw slaves and African slaves. So it gives us an opportunity to talk about that story, which you don't often hear about. We also have a Three Sisters garden that is here and a lot of different signage outside that will show you where things were on the property. It talks about slavery among the Cherokee as well. So there's a lot of things to see here, both inside and outside our building.
Yeah, it's certainly a rich historical area because of where Rome is located. But it does cross all of those bad historical things, the Trail of Tears, of course, and slavery and all of that. So, but just as a museum that has been able to stay in that one place, I say you said it became a museum in 1971. Is that right?
Yes, it did.
But the fact that the house has stood all that time, you would think over time it would get torn down. But I guess that's the thing about Rome. We have a lot of historical things that are still standing here and there, lots of older buildings, and whether that's commercial real estate. I guess that gives me a little segue here back over to Simone and Beau. Do you guys find that you guys, what is the historical home market like in Rome and Floyd County? Do you deal a lot in that, or is it new homes? What's going on right now?
Yeah, right now, historically, like as she said, speaking historically, right now the world that we live in, we have historic appreciation of homes, historic low interest rates, and historic buyer demand. So those three things combined has created something we haven't seen ever. So in Rome specifically, it's not a lot of new construction. We have a huge demand for new construction. So I believe an agent in our office has put some land under contract for a builder to come and put 1,000 homes in the Rome area. So we're still working to get that deal closed. But it's mainly resale of homes. And because of the lack of supply, the historic low supply, and this is not just in Rome, this is across the nation. So you go to the town over in Cartersville, it's everywhere. If you're searching for a home, the best time to buy is now, because they do see appreciation. It's going to continue to rise because of the situation that we're in. So it's just it's supply and demand economics, and that's where we are right now in this industry. So
I put it on the scale of a home I sold in Walton Creek last year, about 161, now is 201. So we're up 40,000.
Yeah, so they're seeing double-digit increases year over year in home price. And right now, if you were to put your house on the market, I believe the most recent close, they're averaging across the nation. We're averaging 4.8 offers on each home. So you're pretty much guaranteed an offer.
So you're guaranteed not only asking price, but sometimes people come in higher, don't they?
They're coming in higher. They're paying appraisal gaps to where if it doesn't appraise, they'll pay the difference in cash. We've nothing like we've ever seen.
How long? What is your background, both of you? How long have you been in this industry?
I've been with Keller Williams since 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been a licensed real estate agent for 5 years now, but I just recently joined Keller Williams in February. So I was formerly with Fathom, really, but I'm a lifelong resident of Rome. I grew up in the model area, graduated from model high school. So I worked at Garden Lakes originally, but I'm glad to be with the number one real estate brokerage in America and in the world. So,
but you said historic. So like never before have all of these factors kind of come together.
Yeah, all of these things coming together at the same time has never happened. So
uncharted territory. We weren't expecting to not have the supply for buyers. We were actually expecting for people to be scared to buy and not sell, but it flipped. We have nothing to buy.
Yeah.
So how long do you forecast this lasting? It's, I guess historically, markets dip and real estate does this and this. I guess you need to be making your money now while you can, huh?
I think Google estimated, I think the search for when is the market going to collapse went up 2,000% over the last 6 months. So buyers have that concern, but also, just seeing how the selling market is, it's definitely a seller's market. So you put your house on, it's going to be, the appreciation is going to continue. They're seeing it to continue to appreciate over the next couple of years. So no one really knows, but you just do the best you can to get your buyer the best deal that they can get. And also if you're representing the seller, you want to get the seller the best deal they can get. So that's what we're here to do.
We're having to be creative.
And I mean, to what do we attribute it? Is this just because this is what was going on during the pandemic?
Yes.
So is it just a variety of economic circumstances and interest rates all kind of converging at once?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really has a lot to do with the interest rates being so low, which has increased the buyer demand that they weren't expecting. And then we already had low inventory going into the low interest rates, and they've held low. Mm-hmm. And they still seem, I think this year they're forecasting up to a little bit in the mid to high threes. So we'll still be below 4% this whole year. So we'll have to wait till next year to see if it goes up higher. But I don't know how it's going to be corrected. Really,
Right.
it's above my pay grade.
Well, I guess the risk is you may get a low interest rate, but 3 years from now, your house may be worth $20,000 less.
Right.
Just because it might level off or bounce back a little bit, but you've got that great low interest rate. So, yeah, I didn't realize there was going to be this much math.
Oh goodness, me either.
Well, that's why we're very well positioned, though. It's not going to be like 2007, 2008, just because of home equity. A lot of more homeowners have tremendous equity in their homes, so they're not over leveraged. So even if they may be forecasting foreclosures, but I don't see that coming anytime soon.
Gotcha, Chad. How has the car industry gone through the pandemic and into now?
You know what? It's during the pandemic, we had a record year last year. We grew 100% during the pandemic. Right now, what we're seeing in the last 3.5 months is very similar to what they're talking about in real estate. So the new car manufacturers are shutting lines down because of chip shortages, creating a huge demand in my market. And so the quality of inventory that's out there has decreased while the prices have increased and the books are not caught up. I mean, it's very similar to what we're seeing in the real estate market as far as inventory is concerned.
Now, do you just deal in used cars?
I do.
Or is there a catchphrase? Are they pre-owned? I'm sorry if I said something.
No, they're used.
But Thomas, this is good news. Thriving industries, not just squeaking through the pandemic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, poster childs. We talked about it several times, and there are people that profited from this pandemic, and there are niches that we had to pivot. That's my new favorite word, and a lot of those folks did the right way. Who would have known that during the pandemic we all of a sudden sell houses and cars. It's just because we are all confined in this place. We can't go anywhere, and which is also a huge opportunity. So, and I want to thank our guests to be actually ambassadors. We always try to find synergies, and I think you all kind of like are ambassadors for people that possibly want to come to Rome, either as a visitor. It's a great destination to come to Rome, and a museum is always on the top of the list when you have visitors. You Google the hotel, you Google the restaurant, and you Google attractions and museums. So that's always something. And I know Chad attracting visitors with his website, the Honest Car Dealer. That's his website, and he attracts people from surrounding states, from the Carolinas, from Florida. So he's an ambassador for Rome, and maybe he can connect those folks to Heather and to Simone and Beau, and just keep him here, And then also you guys with Keller Williams, Beau and Simone, you are the point of contact for new folks coming in, and I know the inventory it's a tough subject, but the chamber's job is to create new enterprises, and you are just a part of it. You're part of the chamber family, and we all want to work together, and this is just another great example how synergies can work together.
Yeah, Beau and Simone, following up on that, how important is it for you guys to, I guess maybe especially from somebody moving here from out of town, the quality of life in Rome? Is that part of your pitch? You got the schools and you always talk schools and parks, but just Rome with the rivers and there's so many activities and farmers markets. And, is that part of what you guys also work into your sales process?
Absolutely. In my buyer's consultation, there are just pamphlets and information and just things that the chamber has. And I'll be stopping by Heather to get some Chieftains things to put in there.
Please do.
Just like he said, we're a point of contact. So as soon as they meet us, we try to just sell Rome.
And so, what would be some of the first highlights of what you would sell about Rome?
It would depend on who it is.
Okay.
An older couple or person, we may hit on the spires of Barry, and if that's what they're looking for or something like that. So it just depends on the person.
I got you. That makes sense. Heather, let's go back down a history highway here for a minute. Major Ridge, was Major his name or a military title?
It was actually a military title.
Okay.
So his Cherokee name was Kanungdaklega.
Okay.
Hopefully that was pronounced right. If you speak Cherokee, please let me know. But it meant he who walks along the ridge. So he was just referred to as Ridge, as a lot of Cherokee were. They just were given kind of an English translation of their Cherokee name. But he fought under Andrew Jackson in the War of 1812 and the Creek War, and most famously at the Battle of Horseshoe Bend, which took place in 1814 that ended the Creek War. So because he had recruited so many Cherokee to fight for the United States, and because he had served in that battle in particular, he was given the rank of major. So he adopted that as his first name because it was much more American to have two names instead of one. So he would be Major Ridge for the remainder of his life. And he was a Cherokee who was very believed in assimilation quite a bit, believed in education for his people. He himself would never learn to speak, read, or write English. He would always have Cherokee as his primary language, and he always had an interpreter that would interpret for people who didn't speak Cherokee. But he wanted to make sure that his children went to school. So his children were educated, and they went to different mission schools. His oldest son, John, traveled all the way to Connecticut and studied at a school that was there. So he really saw assimilation into white culture and American culture as a way forward for his people. And that's one of the shameful things in American history when we think about what we did to our first peoples and our native nations, because they were here for so much longer than we were when the Europeans got here. But the Cherokee tried to play the game by the rules they were given, but they were never allowed to win. And that's really a shame because it deprived our area of having their culture as a living culture right here that we could still have today and benefit from. So it's really important for museums like mine to preserve that history. And the Cherokee Nation really does appreciate it. They will come here and visit and let us know that they are so happy somebody's preserving their history. So they actually thanked all of Rome and Floyd County for preserving their history when their Secretary of State from the nation in Oklahoma came here a couple of years ago. So they really love Rome for that reason.
Well, and it's just, you probably don't think about it on a daily basis, but everywhere you turn, there's the rivers are, Oostanala, Etowah, Coosa. I was born in Armurchie. Chickamauga's just up the road. I mean, it's still around us everywhere we look, because of these original names that have just, have stuck with us through time. But if I have remember my reading, I visited your website and I remember this just from having grown up in Rome. Major Ridge was a big proponent of trying to, work in unison, as you said, assimilate. But then there came a point in time where he kind of felt like he was in favor of relocation, and he signed that Treaty of Achota that led to the Trail of Tears and ultimately his death, correct?
Correct. So he believed in assimilation up to a point. Once you had the Indian Removal Act passed by Congress in 1830, every Native American east of the Mississippi was required to go west, Cherokee included. And you also had in 1828 gold found in Northeast Georgia. So there was a lot of pressure put on the Cherokee to move. And as that pressure increased, the nation fractured into two groups. One was under Principal Chief John Ross that wanted to try to negotiate and stay. The other was under Major Ridge, the treaty party that advocated making the best deal possible and going west so they could remain a nation. And he ultimately did give his life for signing that treaty. Once all the Cherokee who were going west had gone in 1839, Major Ridge, his eldest son, John, and his nephew, Elias Boudinot, were all killed within an hour of each other by their own people because they had signed that treaty, and they're all buried out west today for that. So it's not a happy story that we tell here, but it's a really important story because there's so much that we can learn from history to hopefully make our future and our present a little better if we just listen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was a horrible historical time it was African-American slavery, and the Trail of Tears, certainly a stain on our history. But yes, as you mentioned, you got to learn from it, learn from that stuff. it's hard to kind of maybe segue from that to kind of get back to the business of business, but I could talk history all day. It was actually, I love it so much. I minored in it in college, and I read everything I can all the time, but especially when it's local.
Major Ridge was quite a businessman. So he was one of the third wealthiest Cherokee in the state of Georgia by the time of removal, with a prosperous farm, a ferry, and a trading post. So not too different from what we have, both with selling homes and with selling cars.
Oh, you're trying to help me with my segue there.
Doing what I can.
Job.
Doing what I can.
Well, because when you talk about, historical shame, it's sometimes hard to move on. So thank you for that. But I do want to reference several weeks ago, for people here listening to Rome Business Radio, if you just go to our website, romebusinessradio.com, where you can go back through our historical archive of previous shows. We had, I am going to forget her name, and I apologize profusely. Dr. Clemie Watley. Dr. Clemie Watley was on as a guest, and she is a Chubb descendant of Chubbtown, which was the story of free African Americans who had set up their own town, thriving area, kind of in a Cedar Town, Rome, Cave Spring. The center of all that was Chubbtown. I think there's still some things that exist there. Another fascinating historical story about a darker time where people still could thrive. Which brings me back to business. So, Chad, Trinity Motorcar. What's your inventory now? What's your?
We probably have 115 or 130 cars there today. And we're trying to get that number up closer to 200 within a few months. Like I said, inventory is incredibly difficult to buy, especially the kind of inventory that I generally carry is not your average used car. So that stuff's become really rare. Dealers are keeping their trades instead of taking them to the auction. So the supply chain for us is not broken, but it is definitely slowed down. And with that, the prices of cars have increased 30 to 40% in the last 90 days for the same used cars versus 90 days ago. So that creates a whole plethora of issues when you talk about going into finance and that kind of thing.
So you mentioned what type of inventory specifically do you target?
Listen, if you go by my lot, you'll see the lifted trucks, and you'll see the Dodge Challenger RTs or the Hellcats, and you'll see the Porsches and that kind of thing. You're going to see you're going to see nice cars you want to drive. Maybe even cars you've dreamed about all your life. I grew up not very wealthy, and I always had these big dreams of nice cars. Cars have always been my thing, and now that I'm in a position to buy a few of them, I buy them and we sell them to other Romans. And they've had, some of those people have had the same dreams that I had growing up, and we get to see people attain their dreams sometimes, and that's really cool.
Good for you. So do you have some sort of checklist of how you maintain or get them prepared to resell, checking the engine?
Yeah, there's no vehicle on that lot that hasn't been post-sale inspected. And what that means is engine, transmission, rear end. Major components are going to be checked before they ever hit that lot. Now, will you find something small? Absolutely. If we didn't sell stuff with a scratch or a ding or something, they're used. But we try to do as good a job as humanly possible to make sure everybody gets a good car that'll run.
Gotcha. Well, let's kind of go around the room here one final time. And what I'm most interested in now is getting your contact information so people can do business with you, because that's what Rome Business Radio is about, is following up here. So, Chad, let's go ahead and, what's your website? Are you on social media? We know now if you drive down Dean Street, you're on both sides of the road.
We are. And so my website is honestcardeal.com. And our office is, of course, at 1300 and at 1306, 1311. If you just run down Dean Street, you'll see Trinity Motorcar Company. And our phone number is 706-237-7668.
Are you on social media?
We are. So our Facebook page has right at 10,000 followers, and from all over the South. And we'd love for you to follow us on Facebook too.
Okay, thank you, Simone and Beau. What's the best way for people to? You guys are in the real estate business, so you're going to hand out your cell phone first and foremost. Like, call me.
Okay.
What's your contact information? Website, cell phone, what have you?
We are at 200 East 2nd Avenue off of Broad Street here in Rome. My personal cell phone number is 706-537-3869.
Yeah, my cell phone number is 706-676-2349. You can find me on Facebook at Realtor Beau, and on Instagram at Sold by Beau Brown. We have Keller Williams websites. It's beaubrown.kw.com or
Simone Adams at kw.com. I'm also licensed in Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. So any of those states that anybody needs anything, just let me know.
And are you on social, Simone?
Yes, Simone Adams. You just type it in. I'm very active. Can't miss me.
Cannot miss her. And Heather at the Chieftains Museum, location again, hours, contact information, website, what have you?
Certainly. So we're at 501 Riverside Parkway here in Rome. Our hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Wednesday through Saturday each week. And you can get more information about the museum by visiting our website at chieftainsmuseum.org, giving us a call at 706-291-9494. We also have pages on Facebook, and we have an Instagram account. So please like us and share our events and our information.
I mean, are you back with post-pandemic protocols? Are there any issues there at all?
Right now, we're doing mask optional at this point.
Okay.
It depends on how many people are in the museum at any one time. We're trying to still limit the number because this is a historic house and it can be kind of hard to keep people spaced apart properly.
Right.
So we're trying to limit the incoming groups to 10 at a time. But that really is based on if you just have small children or the kind of the composition of the group. So we kind of take it on a case by case basis through the week.
Well, it's funny. Heather, you got me all excited now. I haven't been there in years, but now I want to go back.
Please do.
You drive by it 100 times, a month, just there off Riverside, and I go to Ridge Ferry Park to walk my dog, walk right behind the museum. So I'm going to stop by there soon just because I love history, and for Romans that you might take it for granted because it's in your backyard, but please stop by. It's
please do. And you can always support us by coming to visit us or by becoming a museum member as well.
Okay. Yeah, we've got a rich history, both good and bad. So, but it is what it is. Thomas, if information for you to contact at the chamber.
Yeah. Well, Roger, first, we always have this little spiel. What is the food landmark close by, and all these places have that in common, when it smells good, you're nearby these places, Heather has the new Piccadilly, Chad has the original Piccadilly, and you guys have the shrimp boat, right? So it always smells good. So if you have lunch plans, plan a little extra time and go visit these places. And if you want to find us, the Rome Floyd Chamber, our E3 landmark is Swift and Finch or Duck's Deli, all great chamber members, family members. And you Google us, Rome Floyd Chamber, and you get all the information that you need.
Well, thank you, Thomas. I think, Thomas, I also might want to add an extra feature to our shows every week. You try to look for a tie-in, but you said earlier in the show that your favorite new word was pivot. I think we should also get you to do a word of the week every show, and you translate it for us into German.
Sure.
So what would the pivot be in German? What would that be?
Sich umstellen. Umstellen, yeah.
See, we educate, we inform, we entertain.
Right. So what is that in Cherokee, Heather?
Could not tell you. We're just going to go with pivot.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. This was a very interesting show and a great group of folks. I'm very appreciative. So thank you all once again. You have been listening to the Rome Floyd Chamber Small Business Spotlight. I'm Roger Manus with Rome Business Radio. We broadcast from the Hardy Realty Studios, and we work in cooperation with the Rome News Tribune. Thank you for listening.